wisdom of Nagarjuna. Opening parenthesis. Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra. Etienne Lamotte. Composed by the Bodhisattva Nagarjuna and translated by the Tripitaka Dharmakaya Kumarajiva of the land of Kucha. Under the later scene. Translated from the French. By Galong Makama Migmi Chodron. Chapter XVII. Praise of the virtue of generosity. Question. What are the benefits of generosity that make the Bodhisattva dwelling in the Prajna Paramita perfect the virtue of generosity? Answer. Generosity presents all kinds of benefits. Generosity is a precious treasure that always follows its originator. Generosity destroys suffering and brings happiness to people. Generosity is the kind tutor who shows the path to heaven. Generosity is the good prefect who seduces honest people. Note. Generosity captivates honest people, that is why it is said to seduce them. Generosity is a safe haven. When the end of life approaches, the mind of the donor is free of fear. Generosity is a mark of loving kindness, capable of saving all beings. Generosity is an accumulation of happiness capable of destroying suffering. Generosity is a great general, able to vanquish avarice. Generosity is a wonderful fruit, loved by gods and men. Generosity is a pure path traveled by the noble aryas. Generosity is an accumulation of good, the entryway to the qualities. Generosity is a good action, the seed of a marvelous fruit. Generosity is a meritorious action, the mark of an honest man. Generosity destroys poverty and suppresses the three lower destinies. Generosity protects the fruit of merit. Generosity is the prime condition for nirvana. Generosity is the rule for entering into a group of honest people. It is a reservoir of praise and eulogy. It is the virtue that permits easy entry into assemblies. It is the house where the mind is without regret. It is the root of good dharmas and of practicing the path. It is the jungle of many joys. It is the field of merit that assure wealth, nobility and safety. It is the bridge for obtaining the path and nirvana. It is the favorite practice of the aryas, of great men and sages. It is a model proposed for men of little virtue and little intelligence. The sage and the fool in the fire when a house is burning. The sharp-witted man perceives clearly under what conditions the blaze is developing, and before the fire reaches him, he hastens to retrieve his wealth. Although his dwelling is completely consumed, he has saved all his precious belongings. He can then rebuild a new home. In the same way, the generous man knows that his body is perishable and fragile and that his wealth is not eternal. He profits from the right moment to cultivate merit, just like the man who saves his wealth from the fire. In his future existences he will enjoy happiness just like this man who rebuilds his home, resumes his business and quite naturally enjoys happiness and profit. As for the stupid man, he knows only how to hold greedily onto his house. In his haste to make plans to save it, he panics, loses all acuteness and, under the action of the violent wind and inaccessible flames, the earth and bricks of his house are completely burned. In the space of a murmur, the destruction is complete. As he has saved nothing in his house, his wealth also is destroyed. Suffering from hunger and stiff with cold, he is unhappy and attacked by suffering until the end of his life. This is likewise the miserly man. He ignores the fact that his body and his life are not eternal and that, in the space of a moment, it becomes impossible for him to save them. Instead of with that, he amasses and guards them jealously. But death overtakes him unexpectedly and suddenly he dies. His physical shape melts away into the earth. His wealth with all its appurtenances leave him. He is like the fool who is unhappy and crushed by suffering for having lacked foresight. The man with clear intelligence, on the other hand, is able to understand. He knows that the body is like a magic show, that wealth cannot be kept, that everything is impermanent and that only meritorious action offers stable support. Therefore he works to draw men from the forge of suffering and he penetrates into the great path. Furthermore, the great man who, with his great mind, practices great generosity, serves himself. But the mediocre man who, out of weakness, serves nobody does not even assure his own interest. And just as a hero, seeing his enemy, is inevitably drawn to destroy him. So the wise man who, in his prudence, has understood his duty well, no matter how violent his enemy greed is, he is capable of subduing it and will inevitably bend it to his wishes. Finding a field of merit and meeting the propitious occasion. Note i.e. the time when it is proper to give. When one encounters it and does not give, one misses the opportunity, and he understands what has to be done, and with the right mind, he practices great generosity. Finally, the man who practices sublime generosity is venerated by people. Like the newly arisen moon that everyone admires, his good renown and fame spread throughout the world. He is trusted by everyone. The person who practices sublime generosity is esteemed by the noble ones and respected by the lowly. When the end of his life approaches, his heart has no fear. These are the fruits of reward obtained in the present existence. Like the flowers and fruits of the trees, they are innumerable. Likewise in the future existence, the merit will be rewarded. When the wheel of samsara turns, one is led to the 5 destinies. There are no relatives to support one. There is only generosity that counts. If one is reborn among gods or men and one obtains a pure fruit, it is due to generosity. If as an animal, elephant or horse, one is well stabled and well fed, that too is a result of generosity. The virtue of generosity is to procure wealth, nobility and joy. The person who keeps the precepts is reborn among the gods. Trance, knowledge, purity of mind assure nirvana. The merit inherent in generosity is the equipment for the path of nirvana. Indeed, by thinking of the gifts which one has made, one rejoices. By rejoicing, one settles one's mind. By settling the mind, one contemplates impermanence of birth and death. By contemplating the impermanence of birth and death, one obtains the path. When one wants to have shade, flowers or fruit, one plants a tree. It is the same when one is looking for reward by means of generosity. Happiness in the present lifetime and future lifetime is like the shade. The state of Sravaka and Pratyeka Buddha is like the flower, the state of Buddha is like the fruit. These are the various qualities of generosity. End chapter 18.